Hey Tony, how are you?
Hi, Brandon. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
I am so excited to talk to you about, I love the paranormal. I love, what you guys do. Growing up when I did, you know, ghosts were kind of treated as, that. And it's come into a life of its own, hasn't it?
Absolutely. With the advancement of technology and everyone seeing the shows, I think people are starting to open themselves up more to it and really being more open-minded about it.
How did you get into the paranormal business?
Well, in 1995, I lost my oldest brother to cancer, and in 2004, I lost another brother to suicide. So that kind of sent me on my journey into the unexplained. And before I ever stepped foot in the field, I reached out to medical doctors, scientists, and engineers to help me remain grounded in scientific principle. And that kind of, got me to where I am now with ghost hunters.
And you're at the top of your game. I mean, the show is doing well. You're heading into your second season on A&E. Um, but the learning curve on this must be extraordinary. What have you learned in the few years you've been doing the show?
Oh, it's been tough because I mean, we're going to some locations that have some of the scariest eyewitness testimony I've ever heard of. And especially here in this new season, season two, the most isolated, the most remote and scariest places, many of which have never even been investigated before. So it was taking everything I learned in the years prior, implementing that, and really trying to remain grounded, not only from a logical point of view and a natural skeptical point of view, but using that scientific principle to go out there and not only help these people, but try and find proof, document it, find evidence, empirical data. That's what we're really looking for, and I think everyone's going to see that here in season two.
I think when I watch movies that are all about ghosts and the paranormal, everything seems to happen at night because I think that's primordial. That's we instinctively have a fear of the dark, but um, are there ghosts that appear and at noon, on bright days?
Absolutely. Sure, sure. We see you see us doing work at night a lot on the show, but we're doing far more work during the day. And the reason we investigate at night on the show is because it cuts down on contamination. There's not as much traffic, there's not as many people out there. And sometimes a lot of these locations we're investigating are businesses or private residences. So at night, it cuts down on that contamination so we can control our environment even more. So that's really the key. And but we're doing a lot of work during the day as well. So it's not just at night.
Has anything just scared the bejeebers out of you?
Oh, absolutely. This Wednesday, you're going to see an episode, the premiere episode of Ghost Hunters on A&E at 8 p.m. Myself and Brian Murray were in a boarding house in Clifton, Arizona, and we actually collected some of the most significant evidence I've ever seen in my 16 years. We were using a very sensitive scientific piece of equipment to record photon events, and we recorded something that's just going to blow everyone's mind and to this day cannot be explained.
Does paranormal activity happen around tragic events more than it happens around, a natural death?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an imprint left over from something horrific, right?
It can be at times. There's different types of hauntings, different types of entities and ghosts out there, but ghosts haunt for a reason. And that's the way I always look at it. And there's a reasoning behind it, a reasoning why they're there. And it does seem that there's a lot of traumatic history associated with that, a lot of misfortune and death sometimes. So there's something to that, but there's many different types of hauntings out there, and we're just out there trying to help these people understand what it is and trying to find proof that it exists.
I think you've discovered a brand new job, ghost psychiatrist.
Right.
To just talk to these entities in the 2 or 3 years that you've been doing this particular show. Um, are there places where you walk in and you immediately get chills? Do things reach out to you that way psychically?
There's been multiple occasions here on the new season of Ghost Hunters that you're about to see where you just know something's not right from the moment you walk in. And that may have something to do with these isolated locations and these very remote places, many of which are 100 miles from the nearest hospital. So that's how remote these places are. But not only that, there's a history associated with them that's unlike anything I've ever seen before. So you walk in, you listen to the eyewitness testimony from the client, but then again, you start to know something's a little different. And I think that not only will people kind of experience that for themselves in the new season, but they'll see some of the best evidence that's ever been collected in the paranormal. And I think it's going to change a lot of people's minds about the possible existence of a life after death.
Is a lot of what you do privately and on the show, is it a lot of debunking or trying to give an explanation to something that doesn't have an explanation, or you can't see it right away?
Absolutely. Our first goal is to go in and remain as grounded in scientific principles as possible. So we're always looking for natural explanations to these claims. So we start on Earth, look for the natural explanations, and then if we come up with something we can explain, that's considered paranormal, and that's something we have to not only look and do further, but reach out to various professionals from technical industries to try and help us understand it. We use our knowledge base. Once we've exhausted that, we go to the experts and we say, hey, can you explain this? And if we're left with something we can't explain, that's when we present it to the client, and that's when we have something really special.
In our final seconds together, and I appreciate your time this morning, it also is a bit of fun, isn't it, to do this type of job?
Absolutely. It's like being a detective, if you will, going out there and utilizing amazing technology that's used in the scientific community and going out and trying to figure out if this history is correlating with what these eyewitnesses are saying, trying to separate fact from fiction, collecting factual data and empirical evidence, and helping someone. I mean, it's really exciting.
Brandon, again, thank you so much for your time. Again, it's Ghost Hunters on A&E. We'll be watching, and hopefully I'll have a light on when I do.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.